Coming up on Vegas Nation Blitz, we hear from former Los Angeles Raider Jerry Robinson as he reminisces on his time with the Silver and Black. We also discuss where quarterback Colin Kaepernick could end up this season. All of that and so much more up next on Vegas Nation Blitz.
Excited to know where we're going to be playing and excited to have a city that is excited about having us.
We are now the Las Vegas Raiders.
It's time now for another episode of Vegas Nation Blitz. Welcome back in, everyone. I'm your host, Cassie Soto. Well, unless you completely turned off all of your social media and internet access, you probably did hear about the record-breaking deal between Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The 24-year-old signing a $500 million, that's billion with a B, 10-year contract, and this, of course, being the richest contract in American professional sports history. So here to help us wrap our mind around that is our very own Raiders beat writer for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Vinny Bonsignore. Vinny, the Raiders knew that Patrick Mahomes was going to be a problem for a long time, and this contract solidifies that. Does this change anything for the Raiders?
No, I mean, there was always the expectation that a deal was going to get done, and obviously he was going to get paid, and he was going to be in Kansas City for a long, long time. They knew that. Now, the money part of it is pretty interesting. We hear the $500 million. Trust me, if the Chiefs pay out every penny of that contract, the rest of the NFL probably should just pack up and go home, because it means that he's winning MVPs, they're winning Super Bowls. There's a lot of, I'm sure, incentives that are tied into that amount of money, hitting it big and hitting every single incentive to get to that $500 million point. But the one thing that it does affect is because when you start talking about the salary cap implications that it's going to have on the Chiefs, which it will in time, it's going to hinder, I don't care what anybody says, it's going to hinder their ability to continually build around Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, he gives them a huge edge, just how good he is, and having him in place for the next 12 years is significant for the Chiefs. But there will come a time where that's going to mean not being able to maybe keep a star linebacker or a star cornerback or something, because you're going to have to start making some hard decisions at some point.
Well, the Raiders will hopefully be seeing some help here defensively. Vinny, we know the offseason was good to them, and they drafted some big talent there, but it has been reported that the Raiders have made an offer to the free agent defensive end, Jadeveon Clowney. Some say he's the best free agent left on the market, Vinny, but I have to ask, is he worth the money that he's asking for right now from the team?
Well, if he's worth the money that he's asking for, probably not. But if, as these teams fall off in pursuit, and there is interest by the Raiders, and it's significant interest, who wouldn't want Jadeveon Clowney on their team, especially adding him to the young defensive line that they're putting together? He would really, really be a big asset to this team. But it would be more on their terms rather than his terms. They're not going to give him silly money, or really what he's probably been asking for all along. If they do are able to sign him, it's because they were patient. A lot of other teams fell off, and they were able to get him more closer to their number than his number.
All right, Vinny, we'll see if anything comes of that proposed contract. Thank you so much for the update. In other NFL news, the Washington Redskins said they are conducting a thorough review of the team's name. This comes as major retailers such as Target and Walmart have stopped selling the team's merchandise. NFL Players Association President J.C. Tretter has escalated a disagreement with the NFL over training camp and the preseason. Tretter wrote in a blog post that the league is, quote, unwilling to prioritize player safety and believes that the virus will bend to football, end quote. Here to give us some Raiders social media fast takes is our very own social media manager for the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Adrian Iadarko. Adrian, Raiders are continuing to get fans excited for what will hopefully be a 2020 season, this time putting out some highlights of their number 12 overall pick and Henry Ruggs III. This guy's speed, I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, they posted this highlight video to their Instagram, and we all know about Ruggs' explosiveness and speed on the field, but the numbers that jumped out to me on this video were 40 catches, 700 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Now, those are good numbers, but not great numbers. We have to remember he played alongside Jerry Jeudy at Alabama, so he was essentially the number 2 receiver. So the big question for me is, can he be a legitimate number 1 wide receiver in the NFL? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, someone who I'm sure would have loved to see what happens with Ruggs this upcoming season is former Raiders owner that was Al Davis. And of course, it was his birthday over the holiday weekend, and the Raiders put out a pretty special tribute for their former owner.
Yeah, his birthday was July 4th, and they put together a nice video tribute, kind of celebrating his legacy. It included his Pro Football Hall of Fame induction and the 3 Super Bowls from his time with the Raiders. So the Raiders will try to continue that commitment to excellence here in Las Vegas and, just win, baby.
All right, Adrian. Well, thank you so much for those updates, as always.
Thank you.
Well, fans, be sure to stay with us after the break because I will be joined by former Raiders linebacker Jerry Robinson, and you won't want to miss what he has to say about his time with the Silver and Black. Stay with us. Who was the only Raider to coach a team in the AFL All-Star Game? Was it A, Al Davis, B, Marty Feldman, C, John Madden, or D, John Roush? Stay with us for the answer. Welcome back, everyone, to Vegas Nation Blitz. I am your host, Cassie Soto. For this week's player interview, we're going to switch things up a little bit, and we are going to be speaking with a Raiders alumni. So joining me this week is former Los Angeles Raiders linebacker from 1985 to 1991, Jerry Robinson. Jerry, I appreciate you taking some time.
I am excited. Thank you for having me on your show. I used to live in Vegas too, so I'm really excited about a lot of different things that are going on right now. But it's a real pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you so much. Well, Jerry, I just want to start this off by asking, when you think of your time as a Raider, what sort of memories stand out to you just right away?
What stands out immediately is that the day that I became a Raider, I got traded from the Philadelphia Eagles to the Raiders, and that first moment that I actually sat in my locker and there was no one in there. But as I looked around, I saw all those names in there, and I saw that silver and black, and I stood up and turned around and saw my helmet. And I put that helmet on, and I sat down, and I said, "Thank you, Jesus." And the tears started to roll down my face. That moment of actually putting on my helmet, and it's my helmet. I'm here now. And it was definitely a dream come true.
Well, that is incredible, Jerry. So let's, as your time as a Raider, let's go ahead and refresh the fans on your stats a little bit here. You played 97 games with the Raiders with 70 starts. You recorded 11 sacks, 6 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, and had a fumble recovery. But in all that time, Jerry, and your 6 years prior with the Eagles, I think I read somewhere that you never so much broke a bone or were severely injured. Can you give me the secret there? Because I think you guys were playing a little bit different football back in the 80s.
Yeah. If you go back and Google some of those games in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it was going to look totally different, slightly different from what it is now. But you know what? I've been very fortunate. During my NFL career, 13 years in the NFL, I've only broken one bone. And it was the bone on my hand right here. And I hit a dude named Herschel Walker right in the head. And he was playing for the Minnesota Vikings. So I don't know. You know what? God has been really good to me. He's always good to me. I've been really lucky.
You were obviously around to see the team when they transitioned from Oakland to LA and then back to Oakland. So we know how hard that was on the fans. How are you sort of hearing now in California still yourself, the fans react to the team moving to Las Vegas? Do you think they finally come to terms with it?
Yeah, I think the people have come to terms, and this is the terms that they've come to. They've decided either they're going to follow them or they're not. Towards the this past season, there were a lot of them saying they weren't going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And a lot of those people have been in touch with me talking about, man, I can't wait to get to a game and I got my season tickets. So it takes a while. And I understand that because as a kid, they were Oakland Raiders to me, and I played for the Eagles. And then when I got traded, they were the Los Angeles Raiders. And I remember the first couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a whole month, doing a press conference or doing an interview, I kept referring to them as the Oakland Raiders. And someone brought it to my attention, said, Jerry, you got to stop calling them Oakland because we're LA. I said, well, they're going to always be Oakland to me. And I was reminded, they said, well, the next time you get your paycheck, look at your paycheck and see what it says. I said, okay, so I'll start calling them LA, But it's very hard, for especially for fans, because you get attached to and they become part of your family.
Well, Jerry, I don't know how many Zoom calls you personally have had to do during this pandemic, but do me a favor, put yourself back in a rookie's shoes and tell me, how do you think you would have done learning an NFL playbook just like this over the computer? How do you think it's going to affect these guys? Do you think we'll see it, that lack of, in-person connection when it comes time for them to step on the field?
That's a very good question, because we didn't even have cell phones. Matter of fact, when I got in the league, there wasn't even ESPN. So to look at it that way, it's challenging. I think it's really challenging because there's one thing to see something and read something, and it's different when you can go out on that field and actually execute it. And your mind has to get into another mindset because there's moving parts. But, the thing of it is, as a rookie coming in this year or last year or whenever, when any rookie comes in, it's going to be different because now you're in the NFL and this playbook is a lot bigger and you have to learn the terminology. And a lot of times some of the plays are the same, but you just got to, the terminology is different. So I would tell them this: don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There is no stupid questions.
Well, you, of course, retired with the Raiders back in 1991. But as the saying goes, Jerry, once a Raider, always a Raider. And the team did something pretty cool the other day and sent you a legacy brick that will be installed at Allegiant Stadium. Did you know that the team was going to do this? And how important is that for you and now your family, that your legacy really is forever cemented with this team?
When I got that envelope in the mail notifying me and that myself and my other Raider alumni were going to be receiving a brick at the Allegiant Stadium, it was very emotional for me because as a kid, 7, 8 years old, Raider fan forever, Raider fan for life. I had a chance to play for him. And that dream came true. And, that once a Raider, always a Raider is for real. And when I got that, I was just, I got a little emotional about it because I know that my children and my grandchildren will, when they go to Vegas, they'll be able to, walk up to that beautiful, bad Allegiant Stadium. You can see it from the space shuttle up above in the sky. God's looking down and say, yep, just win, baby. So that in itself, to know that it'll be there forever, it means a lot to me. And, I just thank Mark Davis for that because, he grew up, his dad, the whole thing of it is, once a Raider, you're always a Raider, and a man of his word, put it that way.
Well, Jerry, we know you are big with the Raiders alumni, and you're always, we'll hopefully see you around town. But where, if fans want to keep up with you, where can they hear you? Where can they listen to you and keep up with everything Jerry Robinson is doing these days?
Well, I actually do a podcast. It's called People Doing Good Podcast. And we bring positivity to this, to our listeners because there's enough negativity and a lot of bad, sad things that are going on. So we have a lot of different wonderful guests on our show. So it's the People Doing Good Podcast.
Love it, Jerry. Well, thank you so much again for taking some time out of your day.
You're quite welcome. And as you can tell, I am ready. I am masked up. Even though I do not have a football helmet with a mask, I have the mask that means most to me.
Once again, that was former Los Angeles Raiders linebacker Jerry Robinson. Stay with us. We will be right back with more. Raiders fans, if you have any questions that you would like to have answered right here on Vegas Nation Blitz, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter at Vegas Nation. And if your ears need more to hear about Las Vegas's newest team, Vegas Nation now offers 3 podcasts a week. New episodes drop on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Check them out at reviewjournal.com, vegasnation.com, or wherever you hear your podcasts. The answer is D, John Roush. Roush coached the Western Division in the 1967 game at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum.
Welcome back to the Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your Vegas Nation podcast host, Heidi Fang, and today I'm joined with our Review Journal sports columnist, Ed Graney. Ed, we're going to talk a little bit here about Colin Kaepernick, because right now there's a bettor who placed a $100 wager on Cam Newton to win MVP at 300-1 odds, which means this person can win $30,000 if that bet hits. Let's turn those odds over to Colin Kaepernick, who right now is looking like a plus 275 guy to even land in the NFL and play for a team in 2020. But Ed, right now, what is the team with the most odds-on favorite place for him to be landing at if he should play?
I do think Colin Kaepernick's going to play in the league. If I had to pick a team right now, it's kind of been leading in the odds, and that's Baltimore in terms of the Ravens for a few reasons. A lot of people don't know this, but Baltimore had really seriously thought about signing Colin Kaepernick before they went and instead drafted Lamar Jackson. We last saw Colin Kaepernick, as we know, in 2016, week 17. He didn't have that bad a year, 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His quarterback rating was about 92. But then, he went away from the game for the reasons we know. He'll be 33 this season, but I think he's going to get signed. You have to remember, in Baltimore, the offensive coordinator is Greg Roman. Where did Greg Roman come from? Well, in his past, he coached Colin Kaepernick with your team, the 49ers. So there's that connection. Obviously, Colin Kaepernick has a connection with Lamar Jackson. And I think even at his age, John Harbaugh might think Colin Kaepernick's a better backup at this point than Robert Griffin III. So I do think Baltimore is kind of that team everyone's looking at. I think he'll be in the league. If not with Baltimore, I look at the Chargers, whether it's Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert, but maybe they don't think Justin Herbert is ready, so Colin could be a backup there. Anthony Lynn's one of 2 black coaches in the league. He's been very outspoken on social justice. And another team, think about this, Houston. Deshaun Watson, the backup's A.J. McCarron. He's kind of been backup for a while. Bill O'Brien has said he will kneel with his players during the anthem. He's kind of been outspoken on the social justice part. Kansas City maybe with Mahomes. I mean, come on, Chad Henne. But Chad Henne's been, he's been in the system for a while. Those are just some of the teams I think that could look at him, but I think Baltimore is probably the favorite for all those reasons.
Ed, thank you so much for your insight. As always, you can find Ed on Twitter at Ed Graney, and I'm at Heidi Fang. But right now, let's turn it over to a moment here in Raiders history where we flash back to the last time that they made the playoffs. The last time the Raiders went to the playoffs, they faced the Houston Texans in an NFL wildcard playoff game on January 7th, 2017. Quarterback Connor Cook started the game under center for the Raiders. Starting quarterback Derek Carr had been injured in Week 16 when the Raiders faced the Colts. Carr was tackled by Colts defensive lineman Trent Cole and broke his fibula. Though Matt McGloin was the first to step in for Carr, he had been injured in the Raiders' Week 17 game, which meant Cook was the next man up. The Raiders would face the Houston Texans on their home field of NRG Stadium. It was the Texans who would strike first. They scored on a field goal, and then on the next drive intercepted Connor Cook, and Lamar Miller from the Texans crossed into the end zone on a 4-yard touchdown run. The Raiders answered with a touchdown run by Latavius Murray. But through the fourth quarter, it was all Texans. They scored another 17 points before the Raiders would find pay dirt again. Andre Holmes found the end zone on an 8-yard pass from Cook, but ultimately the Raiders offense struggled. Cook threw 3 interceptions in the game, and the Texans scored 7 points off of turnovers. It ended with a score of 27-14, and the Raiders went home with an L. And that'll do it for this moment in Raiders history. We'll be back next week.
At Capriati's Sandwich Shop, our passion is to be extraordinary. We're bringing you American WAGYU beef from Snake River Farms. Hands down, this is the highest quality beef made in America, and until now was only available in fine dining steakhouses. Raised completely naturally on a vegetarian diet without any additives or preservatives, our American WAGYU is available in our roast beef subs and our award-winning cheesesteak. Order online for delivery or pickup. Capriati's, experience extraordinary.
The Road Ahead, sponsored by Capriati's, now slicing extraordinary. The road ahead for the Las Vegas Raiders is now 98% complete, everybody. Cassie Soto and Mick Akers here outside of Allegiant Stadium, the future home of the Las Vegas Raiders. Mick, if you take a look around, you can see there's a lot going on. Still a few cones that are put up, still a few things that the Raiders need to do. But one of the newest developments here is a huge digital billboard that is going up on the I-15 facing side. What do we know about that?
Yeah, that's going to be the largest marquee sign they have at the stadium, aside from the one on the side of the building. Obviously, that one's going to be way bigger, but this one's contracted up to 180 feet. Yesco said they don't think they'll go that high. They didn't give me the size yet, but up to 180 feet, obviously one of the largest signs in the whole stadium area. Also plans for a smaller marquee sign going up on the other side of the stadium here, so it has the final countdown this last month. That signage is going to start wrapping up, obviously, but mostly that and some wayfinding signs, but signage, just about wrapped up here.
Well, we know that the completion date is scheduled for July 31st, but what we don't know a date right now, Mick, is the final payment date for season ticket holders. The Raiders went ahead and extended those payments. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, this is the second time they've done that. They did it earlier on when all the COVID stuff started happening, kind of work with their season ticket holders, obviously some of them, not in work and such. So it was supposed to be due July 3rd. They came out July 3rd and said, hey, we're going to push it again. So this time they didn't put a date. So obviously a lot of people are wondering what happens. There's no games, refunds and such. So I'm not sure if that's working into that, just in case, hey, there is no game, no fans at these games this year. They're not going to have these payments coming anyway. So, obviously the Raiders working with their fan base, and some of them, still out of work.
Yeah. Well, moving on to Henderson now, Mick. A new development is that the Raiderettes headquarters will not be very far from the Raiders headquarters themselves, right?
Yeah, it's right across the dirt lot there. It's 20,000 square foot in the Matter Business Park there. One of the first tenants inside there. It's a 20,000 square foot space. They got the same architect that did the Raiders headquarters, so they're trying to, wind them in, have the same look and such. They're just starting construction. They just got their permits to do all that, so a lot of early work, but they're planning to have that done sometime in August.
All right. Well, for everything you need to know about the Las Vegas Raiders, head on over to vegasnation.com, reviewjournal.com, or download that free Vegas Nation app. For our Vegas Nation crew, I'm Cassie Soto. We'll see you next week.